你好，中文朋友.
We made Chinese Honor Society for our school.
This means that we got a good grade in our Chinese class.
Yay!
One of the reasons I encourage my son, who was born in China and has two or at least three nationalities. He has three. He has British, he has Chinese, and he also has Australian.
Excited to have you amazing viewer at Comfort for Life. I came across these clips on my For You page on Rednot and decided to bring them here so that we can interact with them. There's a lot to unpack here. Kindly like the video for recommendation and subscribe if you're new here, and let's dive into this.
You know, there is a decision I made in China. Everyone in my home country, Switzerland, including my own family, at that time really heavily criticized me for. So what happened is, when we go back in time, I think it was 2017, 2018, my wife and I, we started to make the plan to make a family. And she said, I want to grow up in Switzerland. You need to understand, Switzerland is a beautiful, wealthy country. We have a great education system. Everything is perfect. But the decision I made, and I never doubted about it, not even for a second, is I said, no, I want my kids to grow up in China. I was here and I saw something moving in a direction, like a speed, and we are talking about the technology industry, which I said, like, when my kids are growing up, I think this country is going to lead in the entire world. Recently I had a speech on stage in front of many Chinese people, especially also older people, and I talked about it over the last 10 years, how the roads developed, how the water system is getting better, how the technology is taking over. And I said exactly this, why I specifically choose that my kids grow up here. And after the show, something very heart-touching for me happened, is the older gentleman coming to me and saying, like, he had the plan to send the grandchildren overseas to study to America or Canada. And my speech gave him the confidence to believe in his own country and to not send the kids abroad and to keep them here. And look, I cannot make a decision for you, but just from my perspective, I think I saw a lot of things in the world. I don't think that the speed, like right now in technology, is happening in Europe at all. I want my kids growing up in a top country, in a number one country, where there are a lot of opportunities. That's why I personally made the decision at that time. I hope this gives you some perspective.
关注
Guangzhou, why not Shenzhen?
No 关注我
Guangzhou.
One of the reasons I encourage my son, who was born in China and has two or at least three nationalities. He has three. He has British, he has Chinese, and he also has Australian. But at some point he has to decide, when he's 16, which way he wants to go. Should he be Australian? Should he be British or Chinese? So I encourage him to retain his Chinese citizenship and get rid of the British and the Australian citizenships, because he can't keep any other nationality if he wants to remain Chinese. So one of the reasons why I encourage him to retain his Chinese citizenship is because I recently went to the visa department, the Chinese visa department, to renew my visa. And along with me was hundreds of Chinese who have migrated to the West, either Australia, Britain, Europe, America, Canada. They all migrated to the West. And now they have to renew their visa like a common foreigner. They choose these Western countries because they believe that they were the best, that life was better in these Western countries. Sad to say, they're now realizing that's not the case. But now, when they arrive in China, they are foreigners. They have no rights that Chinese citizens have. And now they have to queue up and wait for a long time just to enter the country as a foreigner. Not only that, they have to answer questions like, why are you here? How long are you here for? Who are you visiting? Are you invited? Do you have your accommodation? What is your accommodation address? And so on. Whereas Chinese citizens just show their ID, their passport, and walk on through. And sometimes I see a look on the Chinese who are now Westerners, foreigners, I see a look on their face of buyer's remorse, disappointment that they are not treated anymore as Chinese citizens, that they are no longer part of the Chinese dream. And that's why I encourage my son to retain his Chinese citizenship, because I believe strongly that China is the future, his future.
They say the grass is not always greener on the other side, and sometimes the grass could be greener on your side, but you don't get to see. This is what I've analyzed from these clips, and you can see people are learning your language. What an amazing thing. What an eye-opening thing for you to realize that there's greatness happening, you know. And you can see how foreigners are now shaping how Chinese see their country. And yeah, is it because development happened so fast that you guys are yet to wake up to the reality and believe that you're actually great? China is great, guys. Yeah, do you believe that with me? What do you think about these clips? Let's also look at Chinese education system.
Hey guys, today's topic, Chinese education system. And before we get started, let's make it clear that we are only talking about public schools. Of course, there are private schools and they cost far more than public schools. But over 90% of Chinese people, just like me, have received all of their education within the public school system. So basically, the Chinese education system is divided into preschool, primary school, junior high, senior high, and the university. I'm going to put it right here so you can see that clearly. The 9-year period of primary school and junior high is called compulsory education, which means during compulsory education, public school tuition is free in China, and the parents only need to pay for uniforms and books, and this part definitely costs less than $300 per year. And in high school, public general high schools cost a few hundred RMB per semester, and you may need to live on campus, so there is also the dormitory fee. But generally speaking, before you enter college or universities, if you are in public school, an average of $500 a year is definitely sufficient to cover your tuition fees and all other related expenses. And when it comes to universities, you should know that the vast majority of the best university in China are public ones. Some universities you may have heard of are Peking University and Tsinghua University, and tuition fees for all these public universities are set by the government and are generally within $800 a year. And Chinese parents continue to provide living expenses for their children after they enter university so that they can let them children to focus on their studies. So adding all this up, the annual expenses for a college student are around $3,000 per year, $3,000 per year. And this is quite a bit more than the cost in high school. So schools are offer scholarships to help students from low-income families. And how do you think about this? Please leave a comment below. And if you are having any questions about Chinese society, maybe like healthcare and how much does the food cost and something else, just let me know, and I'll see you in my next.
小红书 International students actually have much more benefit than the Chinese local students to enter Chinese university. For example, every year there are more than 10 million high school students who have the trial course, but only 5% can get the IA5 program. But however, for international students, as long as you have an OK score, then it will be much more easy to apply for this IA5 university because their standard is significantly different. You don't need to have that much competition of the academic background and go to a very high standard university and enjoying relatively better treatment in the university as well. Like the dormitory for local Chinese students, they have 6 people in one room. However, international students, double room. And at the same time, the tuition fee, you guys usually will have the scholarship program for your admission, but Chinese students need to pay the tuition fee and the difficulty of the education at the same time. For higher education application as well, for example, you finish your bachelor degree, you just need to apply for master degree. But however, for Chinese students, they need to pass the master entrance examination. So significant difference. You guys have got a lot of beneficial for Chinese university already. So try to apply the top university as soon as possible. What do you think? I hope this can help. I'm Mr. Su for studying.
I just want to respond to some comments asking if China was so great, why did you move to America? I'm going to attempt to answer these questions from my own experience, so please don't come at me for saying these things. 要么就是你对啊。My parents loved me, but growing up, they were very strict with me. Now, it's entirely normal for Chinese parents to have high expectations for their children, but in my case, I think they took it to the next level to a point where I was, it was too much for me. I won't get into too much details because that's not the point of this video, but at the time, all I wanted to do was escape. Growing up watching TV shows like Friends, Grey's Anatomy, Sex and the City, I'll admit that I romanticize a lot of things in the US. And therefore, after finishing college in China, I applied for grad school here and got accepted. A lot has happened since then, allowing me to mature. I got a job, became financially independent. My adult life, as I know it, is all rooted in the US. It's also worth noting though that much of China's development that you see today is fairly recent. So if you were to visit China 10 years or even 5 years ago during COVID, your experience might be different. True, the infrastructure may look better compared to the US, but that's just because it's brand new. The real reason behind the widening gap is really while China is busy dealing with corruption and eliminating extreme poverty, which, mind you, a recent milestone reached in 2020, the US was bogged down with this petty political bullshit. Take Jack Ma as an example. Have you seen him anywhere in the news lately? No. That's because he got so wealthy that he started to gain political control in China and the government stepped in. In contrast, I highly doubt the US government possesses such authority or leverage to exert comparable control over Elon Musk. China didn't achieve all of this overnight. It adopted a strategy of biding time and building strength inconspicuously, 韬光养晦, before finally reaching a breakthrough. 厚积薄发. And I just want to say, is China perfect? No. But if there's one thing that China has done right in the last 40 or 50 years, it's invest.
小红书
Why you not go to school in your country but come to the UK? That is one of the comments I seen just now. I just want to say, yeah, I go to the university in my country. I come here just academy visiting student. I come to the UK to experience the culture which is completely different from the one I growing up in. It does mean that the culture in the UK is better than China or the China is better than the UK's. But I think both countries have their own culture. And that the difference not there is no one better. Life is about experience, so I think all of us should try to experience more culture, more different culture.
This comment is speaking to me. When I lived in Beijing, I was in a Chinese high school. Literally, I was wearing the Chinese xiaofu every single day. And all of the students were preparing for this thing called the Gaokao, and it was a test that would get them into college. Similar to the SAT, except this test dictates their whole future. I mean, they are studying for this test for years. I mean, the environment of my school was so tense that people literally we couldn't ever go out for food because they would have to study every night for this test. But the idea was that it doesn't matter what you do outside of school. You could be great in dancing, you could be great in sports, but what really matters at the end of the day getting into college is whether or not you hit the number on the Gaokao or not. And in the US, I think there's less people, so we can be more well-rounded. We can pull that angle when we're getting into college, whereas in China, the population is so massive that it's gotta be a numbers-oriented thing. Otherwise, how are you gonna evaluate it? So I do think that the education system across both of our countries really does play in to our working styles.
I truly believe that I was born in the best generation to be Chinese because I got to witness with my very own eyes China going from an 80% poverty rate to becoming the second richest country in the world. Uprising happened so fast that people sometimes don't even believe how poor China was back in the day, and you even have younger generation of Chinese people now who cannot fathom how poor China was just like 30 years ago. And even for me, as someone who never really lived in China, I have noticed a drastic difference living outside of China. One of the most noticeable differences for me is that when I used to walk into these luxury designer stores, no one would come up and talk to me because everyone thought that I couldn't afford anything and that I was just there window shopping. But nowadays, when I walk into one of these shops, everyone wants to talk to me because everyone wants a taste of that China money. But the win came at a cost, which is that a lot of these sales associates now who sell luxury goods now know how to specifically target Chinese customers, and as a Chinese person, I fall for it every time. Like, I was on an Hermes earlier today and I wanted to buy one of their pillows for my couch. I wanted a modest Hermes pillow, very demure, very cutesy. And while I was looking at the pillows, I heard a little voice come out from a jacket that was speaking to me like, Chris. Obviously, it's rude to ignore someone when they're calling your name, and so I took a glance at this jacket and we made eye contact, and then there was a sales associate at the other side of the store who clocked that I was eyeing this jacket. And she comes up to me and she goes, good choice. We just got this jacket in and it's been selling like hotcakes. This is the very last one, and we all know what this bitch is doing. We hit all 3 points to titillate a Chinese person. The first is that it's part of a new collection. The second is that it's very high in demand. And the third is that it's very limited in supply. And this Chinese person cannot stop thinking about this fucking jacket. And if you guys think I'm bad, my mother is even worse. She is literally the easiest woman to sell to. Her closet is filled with all these hideous bags that she's never used before. She probably has enough hideous bags in there to start a museum of hideous bags. And every time I go visit her, I'm like, Mom, why did you buy another hideous bag? And she was like, yeah, but the sales associate said this one was limited edition. And I'm like, yeah, it's limited edition because no one wants it, okay? No one wants a neon hot pink Bao Bao Issei Miyake bag.
Hello guys, I just spent 24 hours on TikTok and all the bad feelings flashed back into my head. So many people talking over the superficial stuff, arguing Democrats and Republican. It's just people are so divided. Jesus still 2025 and they're still so divided. People talking about the core of the problem, the systematic problems. Those videos got barely viewers, and those superficial topics problem, so many people they are just commenting, talking. And people blame that on people are uneducated because even people are uneducated because they are the low class. They cannot afford to have the education in that system. That system is designed to make things expensive. So the low class people stay in low class. If you all got well educated, who gonna do the job in Walmart and McDonald's? Then people fighting over that again. They just don't see what is the real problem. The The real problem is in the core, is covered by surface problems, cannot go deep. And education is not everything. I'm personally, I don't even have a university degree. I drop off university. Then you know the differences? The differences in China, my family, when I was in school, middle school, high school, college, my family considered a poor family. I still, in poor family in China, I still able to afford to finish my university. I drop off university because I do not like university. I do not like people teach me to ask me to memorize those stuff. I just learn everything I want to learn by myself. And the people with degree, they are still working. I don't have a university degree. I stopped working 28 years old because I got enough money to pay off everything I want. I traveled many countries. I immigrated to the United States. I married twice, divorced twice, all paid by myself. And I live a life very basic and simple. I have zero interest to the luxury stuff, the branding stuff. Even go deeper than the system problems. Every single individuals, you need to be spiritual weak to see through all this bullshit. And most importantly, start to manifest the life you like. I manifest my life since 23 years old. I'm not teaching anyone. I'm just simply sharing my thoughts.
4 kinds of Chinese kids in US college. First one, the super smart academic Chinese kids. They usually majored in computer science and other sciences. They're always the top of the class and they always go for PhD degree. Second, the rich international kids from China. They usually went to international school in China or US private high school. They would wear brands like Balenciaga, Off-Whites, Essentials, and some of them even drove their sports car to school. Third, the American-born Chinese kids who are in white sorority and only hang out with white friends. Lastly, the career-oriented Chinese kids. They are usually very active in consulting or finance clubs.
Okay, back on the education. I know that here in America, we have a lot of people coming from different countries to continue their education at top universities, and that's great. But here's the difference between people from other countries and people from America. People from other countries want that education and they stick with it. They do. They go the 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years of college that they're going for to become doctors and lawyers and whatever they're doing. Here in America, a lot of people drop out. They don't even finish high school. I mean, education is bad here. In this town that I'm in, high school, there's only like a 39% graduation rate. I mean, come on. That's not a lot of kids graduating high school. And, you know, it's pretty sad, but usually when you see foreign doctors in America, those are the good doctors. American doctors are not really that good, but the foreign doctors are because they have studied very hard for what they.
As we wind up this video, allow me to mention something. For those asking Chinese, why did you leave your country? Next time, I just want you to do this. Before you ask them, check the tag on your clothes, on your pants, like everything that you're wearing, and even the things that you're carrying, maybe the laptop you are holding as well. Look at it and check the tag and see how it was made from, and then you'll understand why they're in your country. I've seen that Chinese are very open-minded people, and they know that the best way to connect with people is through learning their culture, and the best way to integrate into people's culture is to be able to leave your country and come into a new culture. That's what I've seen, because I've seen Chinese across the globe, and they're saying that we're here for business, you know, and some go for studies. I never knew that there were people who believed that China didn't have the best education for them to live, because I was always looking at it from the business perspective and them wanting to discover, them being open-minded. And if there's someone who is still doubting Chinese greatness, who is a Chinese right now, then that's when, I don't know, then it's time that you believe that you're doing great and that greatness is still happening, and you're part of that greatness that is happening no matter where you are in the world. So you're not limited to your country because it's great. That greatness needs to be spreaded across the globe, because Chinese produce a lot that we consume from across the globe. Yeah, that was it about this video. Like the video for recommendations, subscribe. You can as well support the channel through the thank button. I appreciate you for being here. Goodbye for now.